Welcome back to Rated Radio with your hosts, Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. Shane, what's going on in your world?
I had a baby.
Yay, Shane had a baby.
She's a winner, even if all she likes to do at the moment is fart on me. Couldn't be happier.
That makes her a winner.
Yeah.
That makes her a winner, dude.
I think so too. We're about to be going into season 4. You will notice a few changes, but one of the things I wanted to get out there immediately is that most likely once per season, potentially more often than that, we're going to be doing a shirt giveaway. Listeners, if you want in on the shirt giveaway, all you have to do is message one or the other of us or our social media page with your top 10 music artists. It can be anybody. It also doesn't have to be a full 10. If you can only think of 5, that's perfectly acceptable. Just let us know what you've got, and we'll probably get most of them added to the listener jam jar as well. Once you enter for the first time, you never have to enter again. You'll always be in the jar, potentially drawn for a free shirt.
Yeah, so don't spam us.
Yes. But that it's also going to be continuous. So even if you're hearing this a year from when it comes out or further down the line, you can still write us with your top 10 music artists and you'll be in on the giveaways. The other thing is if you recommend a friend and they send us a top 10 list and they tell us that you recommended them, we will put your name in the jar an additional time for every friend that gets recommended. And that's all I've got. So how are things in your world?
Thank you, Shane.
Rayborn.
Well, spring is finally here. I think we've all begun to take notice after Snowpocalypse 2021. And I've taken it upon myself to start my own little garden and my own little greenhouse. So, yeah, fingers crossed I grow something and I don't kill it in a short amount of time. So,
hang on, you're gardening now?
I'm gardening now, dude. Like I'm growing herbs and not the kind of herb that y'all are thinking about. Like oregano and dill and shit. And vegetables. So Shane, you might be getting some veggies at some point.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you for sounding so excited about it. I appreciate it. I'll just keep my veggies.
Roll the intro. So this is the season finale, which means we're going to cover 5 CDs from 5 different artists. And then we're going to go back over all the artists that we covered in this season, talk about winners and losers. Yep. Stick around for all that. Before we get to that, let's start off with the first half of our music list for this week. What did you come up with, Rayburn?
Top 10 songs with names in the title.
Which I'm calling eponym songs.
Eponym songs? Elaborate, please.
An eponym is something named after a person, essentially. So songs with the name in the title are technically eponyms.
Okay, smarty pants. Moving on.
It's just shorter. I don't know.
If you wore glasses, I would have told you. I could hear you adjusting your glasses from all the way in Arlington.
The librarian slowly reading through the dictionary.
Okay, Eminem, calm down. Anyway, Shane, why don't you start us off with your first pick?
First pick for me is Angie by the Rolling Stones. Obviously, because my mom's name is Angie, this one brings her to mind. Although last night I got drunk and talked about when I think of my friend Daniel, I always want to sing Angie with Daniel in place of anyway. This also reminds me of how much kids pay attention to the adults around them, because I knew this song long before actually hearing it. My Uncle Eric, Rayburn's dad, used to sing this at random to my mom. You can imagine my surprise when I grew up to discover that this song was a real song. Memories like that are a big part of why I'm always acting like a goober at family events. And it's not about making sure my presence is known. It's about making sure the kids have some extra laughs in their memory banks. Mom has always encouraged said behavior from me, and so it's a nice reminder for me as to how fun-loving she can be. Not everyone knows or sees that side of her, and I think that's a shame. But Angie by the Rolling Stones. Long-winded. What's your first pick?
My first pick is You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon. Not only does this song have the most underrated and spoofed music videos starring Chevy Chase and Paul Simon, it is a true road trip gem. So, You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon. No interesting stories here. It's just a good song.
I'm getting watermelon from that bean over there. Or watermelon.
What the hell are you talking about?
Getting orange juice from that bean over there. Anyway,
Is that supposed to mean something to me?
my second pick is Ballad of Billy Joe McKay by Sean Mullins. Pretty sure I could speak for most of my immediate family in claiming that the discovery of Sean Mullins was life-changing to some degree. Before the Soul's Core album, I'm not sure I had ever heard music that felt so reflective of the world in which I lived. I remember listening to this song, facing down, turning 16 in a trailer as a fat kid, and thinking, I am getting out of here, out of the myopic and mundane beauty I comfortably floated in. I could tell this song's story smacked of lived experience for Mullins, and it was a story I knew all too well. Couldn't help wondering if the same was true of the rest of the album, an album packed full of songs about deep love, working toward a better world, and living the dreamer's dream. I needed to know, and 20 years later, I can confidently say, having lived the album to the best of my ability, that Mullins was right about everything. What's your next pick?
My next pick is Gloria by Laura Branigan. I often wonder why I was not granted a more common name. If I had, I anticipate it would be a vibe that this one gives off. Take that how you will, Shane.
So did we just discover that you want to be a Laura?
I want to be a Laura?
Yeah, like...
Gloria.
Gloria.
It's Gloria by Laura Branigan.
Oh,
and no, I do not want to be
You made me feel like I
Gloria.
was crazy, and literally the person who sings this name is Laura.
I do not want to be a Gloria, although that is not a bad name. Blaze Mother's name is Gloria.
Imagine how fucking weird that would be, because you're with someone whose mom's name is Gloria. That'd be like me being with an Angie.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But no, I would love for a song to be made about me that gives off this vibe that the song gives off. I even tried to put my name in the song. Yeah, my name doesn't work anywhere. I often tell people that you won't find my name on one of those stupid gas station keychain racks, so...
I think I'm going to have to ask Austin from the Semi-Friendly podcast now to write a song about Rayborn.
Oh, God. Can't wait. I have a feeling I'm gonna hate it, but, tell him to use Gloria by Laura Branigan as his blueprint, and we'll see how far he gets.
I hope he hates that song with a burning passion.
He probably will. Anyway, what's your next pick?
Joey by Concrete Blonde. This one brings my youngest sister to mind. We never really talk about these kinds of things, but I think we're extremely similar in a lot of ways, mostly when it comes to the comforts of home, a love of seriously sad music, and consideration for the importance of family. Unfortunately, everyone gets very set in their ways, and it can seem impossible to overcome certain hurdles. My mother's never been a big hugger, for instance, and even though I think she's beyond that standoffishness, I still rarely hug her, and I'm pretty big on hugs. Mm-hmm. Same holds true for my nearness to the youngest sibling. We both spend lots of time on the phone with Mom, but it's not like we call or visit each other much. Shit's silly. I think a lot of it has to do with my not being around much during those formative years. I live 30 or so miles away a lot of the time, and we were usually partying in crowds when we were around each other. I teased her a bunch about the partying back then too. Never meant anything serious by it. Hell, she was only having fun like the rest of us, but my teasing is easily one of the most commonly misunderstood things. I'm sure most people can attest to not knowing when I'm joking and when I'm not. I let her know a while back that this song kept her on my mind because I wanted her to better understand that I don't think negatively of her. I never have. Every minor squabble we ever had was exactly that, minor. She never had anything to be sorry for or ashamed of. Life is meant to be lived, and I'm actually pretty proud of the life she's lived so far.
Aw, Joey.
What's your next pick?
I'm not making fun of you.
You're like,
sweet.
you baby coo, sweet shit all the time.
It was the same for me and Alyssa for a while. We kind of were two ships in the night that kept like missing each other because of the age gap between us. I moved away from home, started doing my own thing. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that we really started to reconnect and actually learn to be friends. So, I mean, I don't want to say I can relate, but I think it's sweet. That's the reason why I do that coup. That has nothing to do with me making fun of you.
Yeah, I don't think you're making fun of me.
Oh, okay.
That's all I have to say about that.
You gotta give me shit about baby cooing at you. I just think it's cute. Dick. Anyway. Next on my list is Fernando by ABBA. Leave it to me to put an ABBA song on anyone's list. And letting my theater nerd show again. Mamma Mia, Shane, in case you didn't know. And I will say the Cher version is not bad either.
By the way, I don't know why it never occurred to me, but I saw you on this week listening to Hamilton.
Okay, don't front me out. I'm going to say something about that later.
You say whatever you want.
I tried to private session so that you wouldn't see, but it happened a lot this week. Anyway, continue.
Normally, you watch people like yourself, people like me. It's jumping around from genre to genre. Mm-hmm. Pretty quick succession. This was just like Hamilton, 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 Hamilton. Like every time I looked up while I was making notes, there was more Hamilton. And it made me realize that when you were going off about Lin-Manuel Miranda, or whatever his name is.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes, that I actually knew who that was.
You did?
Because there's an episode on Song Exploder on Netflix, the show where they look at one song per episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of his Hamilton songs.
Oh, which one?
I don't remember.
Okay. Well,
you'll have to go watch the show, I guess, to find out. I was that impressed by it.
Okay.
So.
It's another situation where I was extremely late to the game. That's all I'm going to say. But I don't want to go down this road. What's next on your list?
Sweet Sister Mary by Queensryche, from one of the greatest concept albums of all time. This track would easily make a list of my favorite songs. I used to stay over at my Uncle Mike's place in my younger days. Loved it because they always just let me do my own thing. When they'd go to sleep, I was given free reign of the living room, could listen to or watch anything I wanted. Nights like that are how I first experienced the original Star Wars trilogy. But the standout experience remains sitting down with this Queensryche album. We'd been listening to GNR while playing some board game most of the night. I want to say I'd just finished reading The Hobbit for the first time, so books had been the topic of conversation. And before Mike went to sleep, he handed me this CD and said, if you want to hear music tell a story, give that a spin. Suffice it to say that I was not prepared. In all the years that have passed since that night, I've only found one other concept album that even compares to Operation Mindcrime. And Sweet Sister Mary is definitely the midpoint. This build up to it's just fantastic. What's your next pick?
That was definitely different from the experience that I had spending the night at Uncle Mike and Aunt Char's.
Yeah, I'm sure you just sat in a room with Megan and whoever else was there.
I got told, here, watch Cats on Broadway and go to sleep.
Well, that's most likely the company that you kept over there.
I know. Hey, I will say this, although it doesn't matter to you. Megan had Polly Pockets, and for some reason, I guess because my younger siblings were dumb and could put them in their nose, I wasn't allowed to have Polly Pockets. So it was pretty cool getting to go over there and play with her Polly Pockets.
She had younger siblings too.
I know, but that's why I said mine must have been dumb and sticking things up their nose. But we know this. You know the story of when Logan stuck a Reese's Pieces up his nose. You know this story. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's the reason why I wasn't allowed to have really tiny toys.
I tend to think of Logan. The things getting caught in his ear, but
yeah, that's
not story for another time. What's your next pick?
Next on my list is Goodbye Earl by The Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks. This takes me back to a very young Rayburn and Alyssa. That is my sister for those of you that are new here. Back to when we joked of the extremes we would go to for each other, and growing up and realized those jokes are a lot realer than we thought. So this song always reminds me of her. And we used to watch the music video on CMT late at night. So Shane gives me lots of shit for not being a country girl growing up, but I did my fair share of watching CMT. So anyway, what's next on your pick? Mother trucker, dude. What's next on your list?
You don't even have kids and you've got that shit down to an art. Like I drop F-bombs and shit. Like, it's
from
just terrible.
Vine. You've never heard that Vine, the mother trucker, dude. That hurt like a butt cheek on a stick.
I may have, but
you've heard that. You're not that old.
I don't always remember silly things the way you do in extreme detail. It's like you can watch a movie and know the names of the actors and the actresses, and line by line, you'll have a lot of that down, and it just right over my head.
All I will say is we retain information differently, but the fact that we both retain information pretty strongly, just in different aspects of, I don't know, pop culture. I don't freaking know. That's pretty good. Don't knock me.
My next pick is Judith by A Perfect Circle. Named after Maynard's mother, this song takes aim at her clinging to religiosity even after a stroke left her in a wheelchair for the remainder of her life. When I first left religion, I found this song to be a major source of release for all the anger I felt toward religious indoctrination and the harm it ultimately does to the world at large. What the song primarily makes me think of now, though, is the moment that I truly began paying attention to bass guitar and music. I have calmed down quite a bit on that anti-religiosity front, just to be clear.
Did you find Jesus?
No, I found the opposite.
Okay. Checking.
I went in trying real hard to find him too. Anyway, bass guitar and music. I was smitten with the visceral punch of the music video for Judith. Plus, they've got a female bassist. There's a part in the video where she pauses to put her hair up before getting right back to it. And at the time, I thought that was the sexiest thing I'd ever seen. Enough repeat viewings had me catching the bass melody and all kinds of music with greater ease. Please note for the record that my wife is already aware that if I ever meet a sexy female bassist who, for whatever reason, is into me, our marriage is instantly over. She likes her odds.
All female basses out there, just refrain from messaging Shane. He just had a baby. Give it a little bit of time before you do that.
Live a little, Rayburn.
Yeah. Next on my list is Ophelia by the Lumineers. Good song. Only time I've ever heard the name be the subject of a song, so that automatically catches my ear and eye. And a side note, I asked Blue if he would ever consider the name for a future child. His response was a quick no. When asking him why, he says it leaves too much opportunity for the ridicule. So remember that one when naming your next child.
Ophelia by Natalie Merchant. That's what I think of.
You hear my slow clap for you? Congratulations.
I was just telling you.
Thank you. Okay, but I've never heard it.
Yeah, I actually did listen to your Ophelia song.
Natalie Merchant is superior?
Probably. I don't know that I was studying it closely enough to do a side-by-side comparison, but normally speaking, if you sit any Natalie Merchant next to something else, I'm going to lean toward Natalie Merchant.
Okay, all right, weirdo. Did you say your last for this half?
I did. I wanted to quickly hit those corrections that are overdue from past episodes in this season. At some point, I said Benicio del Toro, but was thinking of Guillermo del Toro. I said the Bangles when I meant Bananarama. I confused Ed Sheeran with Shawn Mendes during our last episode. It's Ella Henderson, not Elle Henderson, who sings Glow. And my Sucker Punch video is no longer on YouTube. They took it down without even telling me. So
what?
It's on my website now, though. Yeah, I didn't even get an email or anything. So something's going on YouTube. It's just...
I love that you make times for corrections when most people, like you take the time to make these corrections so that the people that care are properly informed, but most people don't even pay attention.
I know, and it's something that I would normally add to a description, like on YouTube. I'm just doing it in the comments section, but yeah, I don't like the misinformation being out there. I want it known that I get it wrong. I know I get it wrong.
We're an opinion-based podcast. But I think that ship has sailed.
None of those things are opinions, though. Every now and then we say something, we state something like it's a fact, and I want people to know that sometimes my facts are fucked up. It's almost impossible to know when you think about, a fact type thing with regard to trivia. Like, did you hear it come out of a friend's mouth, or did you see it on TV, or did you just confuse it with something else? So I go and I check that shit.
For
but
the
after
record,
the fact.
anyone that's listening, I'm wrong all the time. And I'm fact girl. If I'm wrong, keep it to your damn self.
Which is
Shane-
why you're
Shane
not really fact girl. You're.
Shane will correct me. I'm pretty good on my facts.
I've stopped correcting you. You're wrong a ton out there, and I just let you be wrong.
Wow. Way to hurt a girl's feelings.
Hey, deal with the facts, fact girl. Let's talk about music, shall we?
Yes, let's talk about music.
So, getting to our first artist, it was Yaz, or
Yes.
is it Yazoo in the U.S.? If you're on Spotify, you're going to see Yaz.
I don't know. Fact boy, tell me.
The album we covered was Upstairs at Eric's from 1982. This was next to last for me.
This was my middle pick.
I gave it 8 5s
Holy hell.
out of 11 songs.
I gave it 2 5s. Man, what were you on? Were you on something? Should I call someone?
Nope.
Okay.
My top track was Winter Kills.
My top track was Only You.
Bottom track was I Before E, Except After C.
Same. What the hell was that about?
Early electronica. I'm sure he was just experimenting. If you just can't get enough Erasure, you'll love most of this spin. It deals that same moody 80s synth that made Vince Clarke famous while he was with Depeche Mode. I'm a sucker for this kind of shit. It's like if Timmy T knew what he was doing. This is also one of my favorite album covers ever.
It's a good album cover. The 2 5s that I gave, it was Only You and Situation.
The 2 hits.
Yes. Most of this for me was experimental 80s techno. It could get a tad strange, and that's putting it lightly. And for me, it was really inconsistent. I really, really wish that they would have gone more in the direction of how they structured the Only You. I really, really liked that. And I wish I would have gotten to hear a lot more of that branch of style that they did. But they stuck closely to the 80s techno and like experimental techno. So
I definitely prefer Only You to Situation.
yes.
I think one of the things that's really amazing about this little group, when Vince Clarke left Depeche Mode, he formed this group with just the one other person, which is the vocalist, and I can't for the life of me think of her name. Mm-hmm. She's a solo artist now, I think, but they did a few albums together before he created Erasure, and I think it's really wild to see just how much the lead singer of Erasure sounds like the lead singer from Yaz.
And they're not the same person.
Nope.
Huh.
Anyway, next album we covered was by Traci Lords. It's 1,000 Fires from 1995. This was my middle pick.
This is my bottom pick.
Of course it was. I gave it 8 5s out of the 10 tracks.
I gave it 1 5.
My top track was I Want You.
My top track was I Want You.
My bottom track was Good and Evil.
My bottom track was Outlaw Lover.
You'll never hear me argue that Traci has the greatest voice, but I will say that you're missing out if you love electronic tunes and haven't experienced this. You'd be forgiven for thinking Traci was a member of Lords of Acid, even though she has nothing to do with that group. This is, think like Garbage meets Aqua, but there are some Peaches vibes to it. It's just still so strange that this exists from a prior porn star turned to actress. I don't know. There's a vibe to this album that I really like.
Okay, well, you're the only one. She is a much better actress. If you ever want to see what she has to offer as far as non-musical stylings, check her out in Crybaby. She plays Wanda. You can also check her out in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. She plays Bubbles. Yeah, good luck with that one. Her singing skills are severely lacking, as Shane so nicely put earlier. If you're think of vampire techno, and you'd probably be thinking of this album.
Yep. You've heard something off this album. I don't care who you are. You've already heard something off this album. It's the very first track. The instrumental for it was in the Mortal Kombat film. One of the main things you would remember hearing from that film. I've talked about this before. And there's a song late in the album, actually, that is more of a talk track.
That's about
rape. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that. My God, is that horrifying. It's so dark.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking about the subject of rape, but Jesus Christ, did that one like sneak up on me. And I just was listening to it and going, oh my God, this is terrible. Not the
I
song.
loved it.
Not the fact that it was a song. I applaud her for talking about it so openly, but oh God, it was just, it was heart-wrenching.
Ignore what Rayburn says, though. This is a good listen. If you
Not
like
saying
electronic
it's terrible.
music.
I didn't give it all ones. There was a 5 thrown in there, and there was also some 3s. So.
Isn't your nice way of saying nothing else even got a 4?
Nope, nothing. Not 1 5.
Okay.
So, I
Rayburn.
mean, that's better than some other artists that we've listened to. Timmy T.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Next, we covered Lorde, her Pure Heroine album from 2013. This was my bottom album.
Hold on. What? This is your bottom?
Yes.
You know, you never cease to amaze me sometimes. This is my top.
I gave it 0 5s.
Ooh, harsh. I give it 4. Oh.
My top track was Ribs. If
My
it
top
had
track-
a good chorus in it, I think it could have been a 5.
My top track was Tennis Court.
Not a bad pick.
Thank you.
Bottom track was 400 Lux.
My bottom track was Glory and Gore.
All right.
For me,
Yeah.
personally, this was a solid album. Lorde's voice is haunting with its deep resonance. Pretty much everything that you know about Lorde, you're going to get in this album. A lot of the same sort of style. It might be a little bland at times, but I wouldn't say it's a bad contribution from her. I like it better than her first album that she put out, and the album that has Royals on it. So she has a lot more to offer other than just the Royals track. So.
This album has Royals on it.
Does it?
Yeah.
Then I gave it a 5. This wasn't her first album, was it?
I believe it was. It's the popular one. Anyway.
I'm not. See?
You're not done.
I'm wrong. No, I'm wrong. Go ahead.
Well,
I like
it's
this
opinion,
album.
so you can't be wrong, right?
Oh, God. If you were here, I would hit you.
Abuse.
And I'm usually not a
physical
violent
abuser.
person.
Yeah. I said that this album is what you'd get if Metric's music was much more minimalist. And by minimal, I mean dull. I get why this appeals to a lot of people, but most of it struck no emotional chord with me whatsoever. And that's what you're counting on when the instrumentation is so lacking. Not horrible. Don't misunderstand. All of this was 3s and 4s for me, mostly 3s, but I just never want to hear it again.
Wow. You don't usually say that about very many artists or their albums. Interesting.
And there definitely were times, there were 10 tracks, 4 of them got 4s from me. And there were certainly times, like tracks such as Ribs, where I just knew if there was a hook there, it would be a pretty good song. Plenty of this was just vapid. Like, I'm not going to give Royals a 5 just because it's got a sound that's familiar that caught people for a while. Like, I just don't enjoy it to the point that I want to listen to it over and over again. So
Okay.
you didn't ask for that, but I gave it to you. I apologize.
Don't apologize, man.
I know lots of people who like Lorde too, so
We will find people that don't like Lorde, so
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it. Are you?
No, all you have to do is look at the internet to see how popular and beloved she is. So we know, don't take this personally from me.
I will say that Lorde is definitely not on my radar of artists that I like. I want to listen to Lorde right now, you know? I think when she was popular and stuff that was on the radio, other than that, like when she first came out and the new stuff that's been popping up on the radio, I don't really listen to Lorde. So getting to sit down and actually take in this whole album was new to me. And I think that's the reason why I rated it so highly. So anyway.
I think she's got another album out, and I'm still interested in hearing that to see if the sound did evolve to a place where I could actually get behind some of the music more so than I did.
So you would want her production value to be increased.
It's not about the production value. I don't even mind minimalism in music. Your lyrics have to be really meaningful, or you have to have really strong vocal hooks or something if the music is going to be that minimalistic. Like, I love Copeland, and what they do a lot of the times is minimalist, but there's so much emotion and meaning, and I just didn't get much from this album. So, but that's enough about all of that. You ready to take a break?
Yeah, I'm ready to take a break. I need one after this first half.
Cool. Dost thou have a recommendation or a plug?
Thou dost have a plug that I'm going to say first. Shane already talked about it. He's seen me on Spotify. Yeah, I watched Hamilton on Disney Plus. Never seen it before. Knew it was a thing. Missed the boat on the Hamilton train. And now I am like obsessed with the soundtrack. I have a problem. So go watch Hamilton on Disney Plus if you haven't watched it already and become a freak like me that's late to the game, but now a Hamil fan.
Yeah, I would recommend going onto Netflix and watching that episode on Song Exploder for Lin-Manuel Miranda. Why can I not say that first?
Lin-Manuel
Miranda.
There you go.
Yeah. It's not normally my bag, Broadway stuff. And watching Song Exploder, I definitely understand why everything's structured around this, the melodies and the songs. But there's a lot of, I think, historical significance to what's being done in Hamilton. And that's pretty interesting. I think I would be interested in watching it, and I know a lot of people really, really loved Hamilton. So
it's good. I was watching it, and my sister walked in the room, and she was watching a little bit of it. And this goes to show you how different we are, because she looked at me, and she goes, "This is the stupidest shit I've ever seen," and left. And I said, I think I screamed at her from the living room. It's educational. And my mom tried to watch a little of it, and she's up and around like everybody's mom. I swear no one's mom can sit through a movie. But I was watching it, and she goes, "Wow, kids are going to learn a lot from this." She goes, "It's just like Schoolhouse Rock when I was a kid."
Well, hey, props to your mom for trying to get into something you're into.
She liked it. She couldn't sit through it all the way because I think it's like a 2.5 hour show. Because it's a stage production. They literally recorded them on stage performing it. So an average Broadway show is like 3 hours long with an intermission. So it's not a short thing, but she did think it was really, really cool. And I was very, very surprised that she got into it as much as she did, because this is also coming from the woman that doesn't watch any sort of Sweeney Todd, Hobbit, my dad.
Todd.
It pisses my dad off because my dad loves Sweeney Todd.
Man, you cannot beat Sacha Baron Cohen in Sweeney Todd with that fucking shaving scene. To shave the face. Oh, I love it. So my recommendation for the week is a song called So Long, Mother Earth by Chevelle. Their new album is out, and you are not ready. Still, duh. Go fucking listen to this album. It's Chevelle. Plug.
My recommendation is Grow As We Go by Ben Platt. By the time this comes out, my better half will have celebrated 30 years on this planet, half of those years being spent with me. Thank you for allowing me to continue to walk alongside you. Because of you, I have seen and experienced many of the beauties of this world and never been alone when experiencing them. Let the song be a testament and promise to continue to grow as we go. Here's to many more birthdays celebrated. Happy birthday, Blue.
I think I finally figured out what it is.
What?
About sometimes your stuff reads like a Hallmark
card.
And those are kind of personal. It's like, as a listener, you're just listening to someone's Hallmark card.
You know what? Your wife appreciates it when I do that. She told me.
Okay.
But
good.
she was pregnant last time, she told me. We'll see how she feels now that she's not pregnant anymore.
Them hormones were something else throughout the pregnancy.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to tell Blue happy birthday. He might not ever hear this. He might hear this. I don't know. I don't care. But in case he does.
Come on now. You care.
No, I don't. I don't really.
Blue, for your birthday, I just want you to appreciate who you are and what you bring into people's lives. Jump on to Spotify and go on and play that enormous penis track again. And, know that I'm forever grateful. Anyway, my plug for the week is something I've been waiting to share. It's a game called Minute, M-I-N-I-T. Mm-hmm. It's a PlayStation 4 game that costs $5 and is a very hidden gem. I bought it because it's an easy platinum trophy. If you don't know me well, hi, I'm Shane. I like platinum trophies. I decided to get a bunch of cake plats after crossing my 100th a few weeks ago. This game kept being recommended Far from the easiest plat you can get, this game plays a lot like Zelda for the NES, which is why I wanted to mention it, because I know Rayburn likes the Zelda games. Very much up your alley. The change in premise here is that your character only has 60 seconds to accomplish something before dying. So
that sounds so stressful.
You slowly open this world through a series of deaths. Just one of the neatest experiences I've had in a long time. Go into it blind, only reaching for the guides when you get stuck. Savor the greatness. And yes, Rayburn, it can be stressful. It's mostly just fun. And then eventually you'll open up a mode where you don't have the time limits and you can do anything you want to.
All right.
It's good shit.
By the way, did I tell you that I started playing a new game? You probably already saw it.
Nope.
We Happy Few.
Yeah, you did.
Did I tell you that?
You
okay.
did.
I thought I said that in the last episode. So I haven't necessarily made any progress on it because my dad kicked me out of my office where I was playing video games. So
he wants
Thanks,
to play
Dad.
his fishing game.
He comes home from work and he goes, time to go fishing.
Yeah.
Because he bitches that he can't go real fishing just yet, but that's coming, apparently.
I miss fishing. Are we ready to get back to music?
Yeah, I'm ready to get back to music. Enough of this Hallmark bullshit. Let's get back to our artists that we covered this past week.
Let's. The next artist was Sam Hunt with the Montevallo album from 2014. This was my top album.
This was my runner-up.
I gave it 10 fives.
I gave it 1 5.
Top track was Take Your Time.
Top track was Break Up in a Small Town.
Yeah.
Duh. Relatable.
It was very good. I had so much trouble picking a top track.
I can't believe they were all 5s. I mean, I can, but I can't.
Yeah, the second and the third track on the first listen, I gave them 4s. But then as I went back to listen, I mean, yeah, I just hadn't heard it enough for it to hook me really well.
And you were right
So
last episode when you were like, you know Sam Hunt. I do know Sam Hunt. One of his top songs. Crap, now I can't remember it. But one of his top songs, you're right, I did know. Played on the radio a lot. So anyway, let me know what that song is if anybody cares.
Probably Take Your Time.
No, it was something about...
he may do Body Like a Back Road.
Body Like a Back Road, that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Bottom track was Ecstasy. Still got a 5 from me, but...
Bottom track was Take Your Time.
Man, okay.
Sorry.
No, that's cool.
Not sorry.
It's cool. It just, I don't know, really reflects where I am when emotionally, meeting someone new.
Okay.
Anyway.
We literally do not have time for you to go down this road.
We do. We had time for you to talk about your mother's opinion of Hamilton, and...
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about feelings.
You just don't want to talk about a track you didn't like.
Maybe.
This album brings new meaning to the term crossover country, likely to appeal to just as many Rihanna or Imagine Dragons fans as it will to the average country music fan. His voice is also very pleasing to spend time with. It retains country cliches and isn't melodically intricate, but stellar for what it is.
For me, this is country in the summer. That's the best way that I would describe this album. In my opinion, there are too many love songs. It felt like every song on this album was about love or some sort of relationship, and at times can be very bro country.
Yep.
So, yep.
But bro country love songs.
Bro country love songs.
I can attest to the fact that if you are not doing a love song and you're a bro country artist, you're going to get Girls in Bikinis.
Oh, wow.
Or a Parking Lot Party.
I didn't like Parking Lot Party. That was you.
And those are good songs. I'm not thinking of the good examples of the bad country songs that aren't love songs, but...
I did go back and listen to Girls in Bikinis this week.
By the way, do you think there are people out there who hate love songs?
Very sad people. Yes, I'm sure.
And it's like really hard for them to find music that they like because they don't want it to be about love.
Can we talk about those people that flat out say, I don't like music? Like, what psychopath are you?
I have yet to meet one of those people that I know of. I've never heard anybody say that to me. I hear they exist, but...
I also think that I I haven't met anybody like that either. I've heard of people like that, same as you. But I also think that's a testament to who we surround ourselves with, who we choose to surround ourselves with.
Yeah, maybe. What the fuck was it? It doesn't matter. The Hallelujah song, Leonard Cohen, Jeff Buckley, Rufus Wainwright, all those people that have covered it. The lyric in that about you don't really care for music, do you? It's like you can try to dedicate that song to just about anybody, and that line has always thrown me off. It's like, it doesn't fit.
Nope. If you're one of those people that doesn't like music, listening to a music podcast, let us know.
Yeah, why are you
here? It seems
here?
redundant.
You must just like Rayburn's radio voice.
Yes, I'm giving the eyes right now.
Sell me something, won't you, Rayburn?
Hamilton is now on Disney Plus for your viewing pleasure.
The next artist we covered. Are we good to move on?
We're good to move on, sorry.
This is one that I'm sure everybody knows about and loves, right? It's the Killjoy Club. The album was Reindeer Games from 2015. This had 16 tracks on it, so more than every other album we listened to this week. And that's why this was my runner-up.
This was second to last for me, which is not a surprise to you, Shane.
No, I gave it 5 5s.
I gave it 1 5.
Top track was Braver Than Me.
My top track was Fuck Death.
It was what?
Fuck Death.
Fuck Death. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
I thought you were saying fuck that. I was like,
fuck
what
that.
Song is that? Bottom track was Outro.
Bottom track was Intro, Outro. They were both equally useless to me.
Disagree.
Okay.
I gave the intro a 3. I gave the outro a 2.
Okay. I gave both of them 2s, so that's why they are both equally my bottom.
Right.
I could have given it to a song, but I decided not to because I lean more towards the talk tracks,
because
the intros,
at least it's a song.
Yeah, at least it's a song. They put forth the effort.
My notes say gritty and grimy, with production levels on par with the industrial hip-hop you'd expect from either of these groups' individual outings. By the way, the Killjoy Club is the Insane Clown Posse and the Mafia 6, or 3-6 Mafia without some of their founding members. Anyway, a good background gaming listen, but not one that holds up to heavy scrutiny in most places. Still, any project that puts Shaggy 2 Dope and Crunchy Black together is notable in my book. If you don't like music about murder that sounds like it was written by a bunch of energetic psychos, this won't appeal to you. I'm addicted to that sort of sound though. Can be a bit repetitive at times, but it's pretty solid to listen. You know, don't go into it thinking it's some Eminem multi-platinum album. That's not what you're getting.
Keep your standards low, kids.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I got 5 5s.
This is what I expected with an ICP collab. I personally can't relate, and I enjoy more of what both artists do separately.
Do you?
I mean, I like ICP
and
to an extent.
The other group?
And I like 3-6 Mafia by themselves.
Yeah, what kind of 3-6 Mafia do you like, though?
They did the entire Hustle and Flow soundtrack.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're thinking of the newer type of 3-6 Mafia, like Stay Fly, Poppin' My Collar,
matter,
that sort of thing. It does matter because
3-6 Mafia.
No, their earlier sound was more in line with this.
Okay,
it's
well then
dark.
I don't like their earlier sound.
Okay. I was just trying to show the contrast for you. I wasn't attacking your taste.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying 3-6 Mafia. That's like saying Within Temptation. Would you stop calling Within Temptation because it's gone in a different direction as far as their vocalists? Not Within Temptation?
What? I don't think there's a massive change in sound for Within Temptation.
Okay.
With 3-6 Mafia, I think there was.
Did they change any members?
They lost some members over the years, and I think some people went out and came back in. But
we will revisit this when we cover 3-6 Mafia.
Let's cover 3-6 Mafia at some point.
Okay.
By the way, I want to resituate. I loved the music on that Reindeer Games album. Again, not every song was a winner. Not every chorus was great. It has a great sound for me.
I mean, okay.
The Lorde album was the only one I didn't enjoy. Wish Killjoy Club had yielded more 5s. Otherwise, this was a great week of albums for me.
This was a strange week for me. Not saying it was bad, but it was definitely a strange week for me.
It was a weird combination for sure.
It was. You started drawing some of these artists, and I'm like, what? Okay, it's going to be one of them times.
Moving on to our recap. Let's go over our top songs for every artist that we covered.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Post Malone.
Wait, what are we doing?
What's your top song for Post
Oh,
Malone?
okay. I'm sorry. I had other notes here, and I'm pretty sure I just had a stroke. Goodbyes.
Mine was Over Now. Johnny Cash.
It Ain't Me, Babe.
Orphan of the Road. Chris
That was
Isaac.
good. Wicked Game.
Blue Spanish Sky. Blake Shelton.
Old Red.
Austin.
I sound so basic with my choices, by the way.
It's okay. You like what you like, you know? Mine was off that first album, too, for Blake Shelton. So our Chris Isaac picks were right next to each other. So quit
I think they
overthinking
came
this.
out
Just
the same album.
Nightwish.
Nightwish. The Phantom of the Opera.
Gethsemane. Tom McDonald.
Help is on the way.
Who I Am. The Temptations.
Just My Imagination.
Sorry is a sorry word. Jeff Buckley.
Lover, You Should Come Over.
All right. Well, this was not listed as my top track. My top track was listed as Forget Her.
Mhm.
But I do want to go ahead and agree with you that Lover You Should Have Come Over is the best Jeff Buckley song.
That's it. Podcast over.
Nirvana.
I've done it. Huh?
Nirvana.
Heart-shaped box.
All Apologies. Creed.
One Last Breath.
Time. Tech Nine.
No Can Do. Although I will say I picked this because it was my top track from this album, but going back, it was probably the Now I can't remember the name of the song. Riot Maker. We have listened to Riot Maker so much in this house. It is blues shit.
I was going to say, there's some blue influence there, and I know it. Left
It's
to your own
good.
devices, it would be like Caribou or About to Bubble, but yeah.
You keep saying Caribou. I didn't even give that I think it got a 3.
It's because of my wife. When we first started seeing each other, that was her shit were those tracks. She liked all of it. Anyway, we're getting...
Anyway.
Worldwide Choppers was my top track. No surprise, one of the greatest rap songs of all time. DeBarge.
I like it.
A Dream. Metric.
Gold Guns Girls.
Rock Me Now. Alan Jackson.
Chattahoochee.
Someday. Taylor Swift.
This Love.
Afterglow. Panic at the Disco.
Death of a Bachelor.
Casual Affair. So,
So
one we agreed on, which was only because I changed my thoughts.
hey, but it's Jeff Buckley, and I will take that.
Yeah.
That's a good song. So
Who did it come down to for your top 4 artists?
Post Malone versus The Temptations, and Creed versus Panic at the Disco.
Who ultimately won?
And Panic at the Disco, Shane. Come on, you knew this. It's
What-
the only perfect album rating that I've given this entire time.
What were your stats on that artist?
Average 4.75, 27 fives, and its price value was $28.75.
Okay. Pretty comparable to my winner. So for me, it came down to Post Malone, Nightwish, Tech Nine, and Taylor Swift. And the winner was Post Malone.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. Average of 4.72, 38 fives, and a $43 purchase value. Can't go wrong with Post Malone.
No, you cannot.
Getting into best and worst artists, what was your top average for all of the artists that we covered?
It's Panic at the Disco at that 4.75.
Mine was Nightwish with a 4.93. What was your bottom average?
Tom McDonald with a 2.9.
Same. I was a little nicer. Mine's 3.44. Who had the most fives?
Panic at the Disco with 27.
Mine was a tie between Post Malone and Taylor Swift for 38. Who had the least amount of fives?
DeBarge, they only had 4.
Mine was a 7 that I adjusted to a 4 because we went from covering 5 albums to covering 3 albums. And it was Johnny Cash, who had the highest purchase value.
Taylor Swift with $30.50. So her price value was actually higher than Panic at the Disco.
Nice.
But she had more tracks.
Yeah.
So that made sense.
Mine was a tie between Post Malone and Tech Nine for $43. What about your lowest purchase value?
DeBarge with $9.75. Their albums were short, and some of their stuff was good. It was good where it was good, and then it was inconsistent for me for those lower rated tracks.
And I think I disagree there, and that's probably why it didn't end up being the same. My bottom was Johnny Cash. It's $14.50. I made note that Taylor Swift was strong in all of these categories. She just didn't take the top of any one category. the second chance bracket. So who lost but had the highest purchase value?
Okay. Well, it would have been Taylor Swift. I wrote Panic at the Disco, but it was Taylor Swift.
Okay.
At $30.50. What about you?
Oh, mine was Panic. Panic at the Disco, $25.75. What about your fives?
Taylor Swift with 23.
Mine was Panic at the Disco with 20. Average?
Was Metric at a 4.2. Taylor Swift was at a 4.1. So Metric just came out above Taylor.
Gotcha. Mine again was Panic at the Disco with a 4.6. So had it been any other week, it sounds like for you, Taylor Swift would have taken a win.
Yes.
And for me, Panic at the Disco would have taken a win.
And I'm cool with that if you are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Most
Cool.
definitely. So, top and bottom albums. The best and the worst of the albums that we listened to individually. What was your highest average or your perfect rating?
Panic at the Disco's Death of a Bachelor. It's my only perfect rating that I've given.
Well, not counting specials. My perfect ratings were The Temptations with a Lot of Soul, Sam Hunt's Montevallo, and those 3 albums by Nightwish, Oceanborn, Wishmaster, and Century Child. There are some other perfect ratings if you go and listen to the specials that are available on the merch shop, but you have to listen to know.
Mm-hmm.
What about highest purchase value for album?
I might have to revisit this. I put Death of a Bachelor, but I'm going to have to double check. So if you want to see my official answer to this, you're just going to have to buy the ratings at our merch shop.
Man, you really are trying to sell me something. Good God. Mine was
Jeez.
Beer Bongs and Bentleys by Post Malone. It was worth $16.25 in my opinion. Which album got the most fives from you this season?
It was Death of a Bachelor.
Okay.
I didn't give over 10 fives to anybody else.
Mine again was Post Malone's Beer Bongs and Bentleys. It got 15. What was the bottom album for you this season?
Dream People and the Whiskey Wars by Tom MacDonald.
That one was rough.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, for me, it was also Tom MacDonald, but I'd have to say Leanne's Son had a 2.94 average, 0 fives, and only scored $4.75 out of $17.
It had a lot of skits on it, right?
It had 3, I think, but I really didn't care for the music either. Maybe the lyricism. The music might have been okay. I made a note that Metric's debut also had 0 fives, and that the Temptations album Sky's the Limit actually had my lowest purchase value at $3.25, but there were only 8 tracks on that CD. So
Yeah.
versus Leanne's Son's 17 tracks, you really can't say that Tom MacDonald CD wasn't the bottom for me. Questions? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Whose win or loss surprised you most this season?
Metric and Tech 9, both their wins surprised me. Metric because I had never actually sat down to listen to more than just a couple songs that was shared to me by Samantha and Toby. Tech 9, same reason. That Ever Ready album was good. So
I said the Temptations because Jeff Buckley is amazing, so I did not anticipate the Temptations winning out, but they did.
All right. Which artists have you been listening to the most?
DeBarge, because so much of it was new to me, and it's so good.
While
what about you?
vacuuming the house?
Yeah. I do a lot of that.
Tech 9 and Panic at the Disco. Maybe a little Taylor Swift. Maybe because she's recent.
Did you genuinely dislike any of these artists?
Tom MacDonald.
Yep.
I'm not going to go back and listen to any of Tom MacDonald. I'm sorry, Alex. I just don't see myself going back and being like, man, you know who I want to listen to? Tom MacDonald. So I'm sorry. But
yeah, my answer is also Tom MacDonald. But again, I think he's got newer stuff that is going to be better. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the second album that we covered, I actually thought was a great instrumental album. And it had some real winners in places. But on the whole, I disliked a lot of Tom MacDonald's stuff. I don't dislike the artist as a whole. And again, I do look forward to covering the more recent stuff if we ever get the opportunity.
Yeah.
What did you learn during this battle of the bands?
Even I can't surprise myself.
Explain.
I was probably more basic this season than any other season. I don't know why that is, but I'm looking at my top songs, and like I said before, I see a lot of hits, and I don't want it to be that way.
Well, I'll cling to your Taylor Swift top song, This Love, as a proof that you're not always basic.
Thank you. Let the record state, Shane said, I'm not always basic.
I'll try to help your deflated ego where I can. I learned that I prefer instrumental choruses to weak vocal choruses. So if you're vocals in the chorus don't bring their A game or don't take it somewhere, I'd almost rather just there was nothing there at all but like some cool guitar or piano melody. So, which artist have you picked for the next season?
The Black Keys.
Oh, God. Okay.
I knew you were going to say that. This is why I picked them.
I hadn't thought at all about what you might say.
Really?
Yeah, I was trying to just be surprised.
You sounded disappointed.
I want to walk back my basic statement that I made a moment ago.
Okay.
No, not basic. I'm not calling you basic. Predictable.
See, I can't even surprise myself, Shane. I was sitting here thinking of who's got 3 solid contributions, in my opinion. And I was thinking, and I'm like, oh, well, what genres have we kind of not covered? Because I like to choose a little bit of a variety, and that was the first thing that came to mind.
You actually you were surprising last season with the Temptations, so I don't mind this.
Okay, good. You don't mind.
It's expected. I think the thing is, we ended the season with the artists that I suspected you would pick with Panic at the Disco if we hadn't already had them. So
I don't think I would have.
I don't know.
I don't think I would have picked Panic.
Okay.
I wasn't ready.
Speaking of other things you're not ready for.
Oh, God.
We're going to do things a little differently this season.
Uh-huh.
It has occurred to me that what comes out of the listener jam jar against our verses from our hand picks here at the beginning of the season, they don't normally stand much of a chance because we're hand picking artists that we absolutely love, and we know that. And there's a lot of bias in what we're... So this, instead of splitting these over 2 episodes...
They're going to go head to head.
Yep.
That
you and I are going head to head.
Sense. Okay.
And then listeners are going to get a fair shake beyond that with everything.
Okay.
You want to know
around
what
the
I
bush.
picked? Oh, you want to know? Okay.
I want to know.
Maria Mina.
Well, damn.
Raven's way of saying, I don't really know who that is.
I know you really, really like that artist. So, of course, you're going to be biased, which is fine because I'm going to be biased too. So, listeners, pick your favorite parent. We promise it's not you, it's us.
Please note for the record that I am going to listen to all of this music and give it a fair shake without bias.
Okay.
I may already know that I love Maria Mina's music, but I am going to listen to the Black Keys and give my honest opinion of what I hear.
I am going to do the exact same. Scout's honor. I'm holding my hand up and everything.
Believe it when I see it.
I am not the one that is super biased when it comes to artists. Shane?
Yeah, I think music has to grow on you for a lot longer than it does me.
Probably.
So, new artist versus an artist you're familiar with, kind of always know which way it's going to go. There have been exceptions to that rule.
Thank you for stating that. I appreciate it. Are we ready to move on to the second half of our list?
Damn.
No.
Listeners, don't forget to send us your top 10 artists of all time list. I actually want to know. I'm going to store these things so that I can look over them and see how people compare when we get a lot of entries and stuff. So
it's Shane's way of quietly judging you all.
No, I'm not.
I'm just kidding.
I'm judging you. It's my job to judge you. Anyway.
Okay. Moving on to the next half of our list. I'm going to go first because whatever.
Songs with names in the title.
Songs with names in the title. Next on my list is Valerie by Amy Winehouse. This is my favorite Winehouse contribution, far superior to the more well-known Back to Black. So, yeah, give it a listen. Shane?
Catfish Billy by Yellow Wolf. My dad's name is Billy, and the nickname I have for my son is Catfish, because the most Wyndham I see in him is when he's been outside playing entirely too hard for too long. He starts acting a fool. They say it skips a generation, but I don't think that's true. My irrational side is very much alive. I just keep it under quite a few levels of lock and key. Still, even I have my bad days, and it's not uncommon for me to shut myself away, telling people I'm on my Catfish Billy shit. I need to be left alone. The song epitomizes what it's like to be in my head at times like that. The feeling is almost manic. Think restlessness squared. Find myself considering a complete overhaul of the life I'm living. A lot of it likely comes from the isolation and monotony of my day-to-day. I get that quote stuck in my head about how madness is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Mm-hmm. Makes me want to overcorrect when things are noticeably stale. I've always thought of consciousness as millions of little voices in our heads, and who we are collectively is merely the picture painted by those voices we choose to let take the lead in our decision making. Those Catfish Billy days see me listening to the most muted voices in my head just for a change of pace. I don't know. That was very rambly, but...
You are not monotonous. I am like 10 times more monotonous than you. Every time I feel like you always have something going on, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out, check out the Banter Bar on YouTube.
I think that's why it's so uncomfortable for me. That's why it's so
you're
maddening.
Always going. You're always running
Yes.
90 to nothing. Okay.
Yes. People live to get in a position where they are comfortable and the things that they love are all there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, you just expect to see evolution in all areas, and that's not usually the case of what's happening. You can only do so much at once. And plus there's that constant worry of, the bottom dropping out from beneath you financially at all times. Mm-hmm. Life is hard. Let's say that.
You're getting into some real shit. Let's get back on some lighter shit and say, I didn't know you called your son Catfish. I've been walking around here calling him Mudbug.
And if you could see this fool, and Mudbug works too. I guess you have. Yeah, he still loves to get outside, get by the water, throw rocks. Mm-hmm. I took him to the lake the other day, and it was the first time he's actually played in sand because we don't have a sandbox at the house. And that's the thing it's been a pandemic.
I know.
I expected to do so much, but we've been locked away here for the most part. He just fucking got that shit everywhere. He was having so much fun.
He's such a happy kid.
Catfish, yeah.
Anyway, moving on to my next pick. It's Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes. This song is always playing somewhere in almost every 80s and 90s movie where the floors part and two future lovers lock eyes. It gives me the goose pimples every time.
Solid pick.
Thank you. Your next pick?
Is also solid. I think you will agree. It's Molly by Lil Dicky.
Solid. I agree.
There's never been a love named Molly in my life, but that's what makes this one so appealing to me. I don't think about any one person I've adored when the song's playing. I think about all of them. A friend recently wrote me about how she feels like she was made to love more than just one person, and all I could do was let her know that she's not alone, couldn't comfort her, couldn't tell her eventually she'll find acceptance of the way she feels, or balanced happiness in trying to love more than one person, because sadly, society at large isn't ready to do away with monogamy as the preferred lifestyle for lovers. Too easy for most of us to never question our notions of sexual ownership or have our jealousy viewed as something childish to be outgrown. Anyway, I'm still in the deep shit and rambling. What's your next pick?
Next on my list is Carmen by Lana Del Rey. Shane, I know you don't agree because I believe this was one of your bottom songs by Lana Del Rey.
Yep. I like it. I don't love it.
I know. But this song exudes dark, sad, almost forbidden idols, where the idea of someone is often more tantalizing than the actual truth. Next on your list.
I wasn't being quiet to be a dick. I'm trying to add the pieces of your puzzle as they come in more and more. I'm still back at the Smashing Pumpkins experiment song that we did at the very beginning, trying to figure out what is it about. It just seems so hit or miss. Like I still don't know. I play some dark and sad shit for you and be like, oh god, sad bastard music. And then at other times it's like, oh, I love it. It's I don't know.
I am a mystery wrapped inside of an enigma.
It's like a On Good Mythical Morning where Link's random number generator rating scales. You never know what he's going to say as far as numbers go on that 100 scale. That's kind of how I feel about you in music. It's like, I don't know. She could say a 2. She could say an 87.
And you're a lot like Rhett. Like, if it's edible, it'll get at least a 50. So,
I mean, the bottom is there because it's the bottom.
What's your next pick?
Suzanne by Leonard Cohen. I can't hear this song and not think about the time I spent with a lover who was every bit as physically needy as I can be. I'm sure it's easy to hear that and assume that sex was the most memorable part of said relationship, but it wasn't. Something unexpected happens when you find yourself with someone who sates your lust. You find yourself paying attention to the more minute details and moments You're no longer worried about how pleasurable your time with them is going to be. The pleasure is a given. The pressure is off. And you finally begin understanding what intimacy really is. It's learning all the things you couldn't forget about her, even if you wanted to. How she stares into space when she talks about death, or rubs her own neck when she can't make up her mind how to answer a question someone's asked her. And much like the song, only sad because you know it's going to end. What's your next pick? You're supposed to keep it light and airy here, Raven.
Next on my list is Lorelei by Styx. Reminds me of family evenings spent with my dad singing this to your sister somewhere, and her being reluctant to listen, but then finding an appreciation when always hearing it. So, yeah,
Well,
the song reminds me of your sister.
Can't confirm her feelings on the song. I can confirm that your dad liked to sing it to her.
I'm not confirming her feelings about the song. What I saw is when she was younger, she would always be like, oh, not really into it. But then I think as she grew up, she developed more of a patience when hearing dad sing that to her, which if listeners haven't caught on, if my father can find your name in a song anywhere, which kind of sucks for me because of what my name is, he's going to sing it to you.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Eric, if you're listening, Laughter's Good by Rodney Carrington. It's special on Netflix. I don't think you can listen to the album right now, but there's a song called Shane. It's pretty fitting. Just, if you ever get around to it, feel free. It's right in that Uncle Wordman vein that you like. So,
what's next on your list?
Miami by Keith Whitley. Pretty obvious why this is here. Mm-hmm. I dated a girl named Amy, and this one hits way too close to home when I think about our time together. She loves to travel, so the story behind this pick is a bit too on the nose. I found myself thinking about our first date while listening this week. We met up with a few of her girlfriends at the dorm, then went hot tubbing at an apartment complex where none of us lived. I was a bit too in my head at first, because, and I've never explained this until now, I'd gone out a few times with a different Amy before that point, and she lived less than 100 feet from where we were that night. But my date didn't seem to mind. She just kept feeding me red wine and eventually took me home with her. By the next morning, I felt something alien to me at that point in my love life. I felt completely at ease around her. Most of that not feeling that up to that point was owed to circumstances of my previous relationships. Still, I wouldn't be who I've become if it hadn't been for the roughly 2 years I spent with Amy. And every time I hear this song, that's where my mind goes. What's next for you, Rayborn?
Last on my list is Chelsea Dagger by the Fratellis. This was the name I actually gave Blue's first motorcycle. That's right, I said first, because he's gone out and done it again. Bought another one, so that means the hunt for a new name has begun. So listeners, if you can think of any name songs that would be good to name any sort of vehicle, preferably of the two-wheel variety, please feel free to comment on this episode and help me out as much as possible. Because trust me, I'm going to need it.
Is that why you picked this list?
No, this is not why I picked this list.
Okay. I was curious. It would make sense.
No, Shane, I didn't think that far ahead. I just thought we could do the top 10 songs with names in the title probably another 10 times if we really wanted to, and still have plenty to choose from. So I figured we might as well get started now.
I'm sitting over here trying to think of a name for the motorcycle.
Comment on this episode, Shane.
My vehicle doesn't have a name.
Mine does. Its name is Basil.
I had a Brooklyn. I had a Victoria. It's an orange fit. I think it has to be peach just because of the new Chevelle album, right?
Yes.
Let's go with
that. Yeah. Peachy. But keep that in mind when picking your next list, Shane. That could be something good that we do. Songs about vehicles or songs with... I'm just saying, I'm trying to add to the top 10 list that we already have rolling. Maybe that's something you might want to consider.
Songs about vehicles.
Song like Thunder Kiss 65.
I would make it all country songs. Number one on my list. I drive your truck.
Yeah, it's your list, man. Do what you want.
Damn.
What's your last pick for this list?
Last on my list is When Paula Sparks by Copeland. This song has always left me thinking about when Amy's mom died and the regret I felt not being there for her. A story for another time, though, because over the past week, I've been hearing this song in a new light. My daughter was recently born, completely healthy, and there was a lot of worry right at the end that she might not make it at all. She's named after my grandmother, the one who passed away when I was young. I've known I wanted to carry that name forward for decades, and also knew this was the last time I planned on trying to have another child. Visited my grandmother's grave for the first time last year, and found out after the fact that Megan was already pregnant with Jenny when we arrived at the cemetery in Montana. Basically, I was even more invested in this pregnancy than I'd have already been, and having the baby here now, happy and healthy, feels like I'm giving new life to my grandmother's legacy, ensuring some part of her lives on through my daughter. While I'm sure they'll be markedly different human beings, there is a new degree of peace for me in seeing things come so full circle. I'm done.
Sweet.
Depends on who you ask, I think.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Like, I'm sure mentioning ex-girlfriends, stuff like that.
In the same context of you talking about your daughter?
There's also some weirdness. I think if my daughter goes to hear this someday, I worry that she'll feel like there's some expectation that she is somehow like my grandmother, or that I have this expectation, and I don't.
I don't think that is the case. By the time she's old enough to hear this, I think she will fully have developed into her own person. And if not, let the record state, Jenny, you are your own person, and we love you for whoever that person may be.
Yeah. All I want out of you or Taylor is just that you figure out what you want to do with your life, and that it makes you happy, and that you try to do some good in the world. That's it.
The mentality that my mom has always told me is if you're not hurting yourself or others and you're happy, you pay your own bills, it doesn't matter what other people think about you. Do what you want to do always.
Word.
Riveting. Anyway.
I could go down this rabbit hole if you want me to, but you don't want me to, so.
No, and feel free to cut any of this. Anyway.
Ravens, I like to throw in a little depth, but we don't want to go too deep.
No, we don't want to go too deep because listeners don't want to hear us go too deep. At least if we're going to go deep, we need to devote a whole episode to it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. We'll call it the deep episode.
Yep. Anyway.
It'll be a lot of me rambling and you just being
going,
like,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I could just put down my headphones and walk away, and I think that we would still be okay.
Last thing I want to mention before we get out of here for the season is that we are going to try to make things slightly more interesting. We're doing away with our normal jam jar. Listeners, that means almost every week we will pull one of your suggestions, and then we're going to try to think of something fitting to go alongside it.
And when we say fitting, we're typically sticking to the same genre realm. One thing that we have noticed is when these verses or head-to-heads come up, it's not exactly fair to multiple artists that are competing against each other in two completely different genres. So to eliminate that and get a better gauge of our winners, we're going to be sticking to the same genre category.
Which this change was actually recommended back in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been very busy and couldn't wrap my head around how to make it work. But here we go. We're going to give it a shot. And we are going back to new episodes every week.
Yay!
Be happy.
I know. We've had so many people ask, where are you guys? Why don't I hear more of you guys every week? Well, we're giving the people what they want. So every week it is.
Yeppers, you want to take us out for season 3?
Yes, that's going to do it for this week. Hit up our playlist to hear all the songs we talked about. Get our full ratings, t-shirts, and bonus episodes at teespring.com/ratedradio. And guide what we listen to by suggesting new artists for our jam jar. You can even send us voice messages on Facebook for a shot at being on the show. Your support is really what makes or breaks us. Until next time, fill your world with music.
And listeners, I just want to say thank you for your suggestions, for what you bring into the show, and for listening. You really are making the sound in our worlds much more beautiful.